Hello?
Hello, Kiran sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Nagarajan.
Good
Can you hear
afternoon,
me?
sir. Yes, sir. You are yes, sir. Audible.
Okay, perfect. Let me see where I can share my screen. Let me know when to begin so that I can start the sharing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will start, sir.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. That's fine. I'll go on mute till that time, okay?
So thank you so much for accepting our invitation and joining us today for this insightful session, sir.
Sure, no worries.
So I kindly request Mrs. Asha to introduce our esteemed guest to the participants.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are honored to introduce Mr. Kiran Adimatyam, a distinguished technology leader, AI enthusiast, and founder of the DFW Emerging Tech Hub, a premier community advancing knowledge in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cloud computing. Based in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, Kiran is a thought leader in the AI space and the author of Pragmatic AI, where he shares insightful analysis of advanced AI models like Llama and comprehensive guides such as Zero to Hero in AI. Passionate about democratizing AI knowledge, Kiran has developed structured learning paths for AI practitioners and actively organizes tech community events, fostering professional networking and knowledge sharing. His expertise extends to exploring the creative innovations, transformative industry applications, and ethical challenges of generative AI, making him an exceptional resource for this session. I welcome you, sir. Now the session is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Was it Asha who was speaking?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Asha, for the introduction. I didn't expect that introduction, but thank you very much for that. And so we will begin as we are like 2 minutes into the call. We have much of the information to be shared. So as Asha introduced me, my name is Kiran Adimatyam, and I'm based out of Dallas in Texas, USA. Currently, I'm working with Citi as a emerging tech evangelist, and my daily job actually is something different from what I'm actually talking to you about. This is out of my passion and interest that I run the DFW emerging tech communities, and also I do have a WhatsApp community strong with 150 people who are like having CIOs and CEOs who are interested to take this forward, and there are a lot more people in there, and I do conduct sessions very often related to AI and anything related to emerging tech. So it's I'm glad to be here and excited to share what I know with all of you guys, and thank you for taking time to listen to me. I think I'm the only one on the video right now, so let's keep it that way. If you're not video shy, please switch on the video so that I know who I'm talking to, if it's possible. Otherwise, that's fine. Let me start sharing my screen here. Uh, I need to check my system settings. 1 second. There we go. Okay, later. Just give me a second. I'm not used to Teams. I'm very much familiar with the Zoom, so it's taking a while. Okay, there we go. Uh, can you guys see my screen?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No? Okay, hold on. Now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, so let's start. Today's discussion is actually going to be we're going to talk about the future trends in generative AI, innovation and societal impact. So that's the topic for our 90-minute session. That's what Mr. Nagarajan asked me to do today. You guys must have been going through the basics of LLMs, or basics of generative AI. There are like several topics that I've been having throughout the 6 day period for you guys. Thank you, Mr. Nagarajan. Good to see you. Uh, I will move on to the next slide. So today I'm going to, cover a couple of topics here. What is the current state, right? And how it all started off, and where we are going, and what is the impact that we're going to have from this revolution. I would say this is a revolution. It's more analogous to what the Industrial Revolution in 1900s has been, where the locomotive engine has been introduced after the, water wheels in Europe, and how the that revolution has actually paved the path for modernization. So this is very much analogous to that, in my opinion. The reason being, it is generally any industry would actually have a innovation in its particular area, and it would actually impact that particular industry alone. But with this advent of AI and related aspects, is going to touch upon every facet of the life of an individual, and also the industries across. And this is not just one nation. I mean, I'm sitting in US, and I'm actually talking to you guys about what is happening down the line. So you can imagine we're all going to be affected, and let's see how we can gear ourselves to get ready to embrace this change, rather than being afraid of it, right? So that is the main focus areas. um, Now I'll actually talk about a little bit of ChatGPT. Most of you, or many of you, might have heard or used or been using ChatGPT. So this revolution actually kicked off at this level because of the advent of ChatGPT by the company OpenAI. You must be knowing a guy called Sam Altman, who was very close with Elon Musk. They started OpenAI, you know, for the beneficial of the humanity. They started off with, and they started putting in a lot of money to do the research on it. And ChatGPT brought the research results out into the public with something called as RLHF, reinforcement learning with human feedback, where the inputs that you actually give to the system will make it much more better. That's how it all started. And it led to generative AI. Basically, people talk about AI, and there is also generative AI. Generative AI is the form of AI where it actually takes input in one form and generates output in another form. That is why it is called generative AI. So when you're asking the system to generate an image, right? You're not giving an image to the system, or you can give the image to the system, asking it to enhance it or modify it or create a video out of it. It all started with text-based inputs, saying that, hey, I want to write a poem, or I want to write a story. So it just caught like wildfire across the world. And you know how big a company OpenAI is, and there are some ethical challenges of how the data is being used, or how the data that has been scoured from the internet and actually it has been trained. We'll talk about those things later. But this is what actually paved the path in November 2022. I've been dabbling with machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc. To some extent, we were trying to build some models, and machine learning models, and try to use the regular linear algebra mechanisms to actually make those models work for us. ChatGPT opened the doors for everyone to become content creators, story writers, and everything. So one more thing, if you have any question, or if you have a comment, please, raise a hand. Or I'm not used to Teams now, so maybe you can just speak up and talk to me. I would love to have a discussion going on rather than me speaking for 90 minutes. I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Now let's move on to the next one. So where did we start off, right? Did everything happen right in 2022 out of the blue, and everything went on at this scale? No, it is not the actual reason for it. Artificial intelligence has been in the works, or some form and fashion of artificial intelligence. They didn't specifically call it as artificial intelligence at every stage of the way. They There were research trials going on with something called as perceptrons, which is more mimicking brain neuron, the neurons in our brain. It mimics that, and it actually learns to some extent, but it cannot actually anticipate what the prediction could be and other things. It started all the way back from 1950s. They were all rule-based systems, as you can see on the screen. From 50s to 80s, they were all rule-based systems. 80s to 2000s, we had like machine learning. But in 2000, I think in 80s, Geoffrey Hinton, who is a Nobel Prize winner, who is the father of AI, they call him, he was the one who actually invented this method called back propagation. If you're familiar with neural networks, we'll touch base on that a little bit later. He proposed the idea of back propagation, where um, every neuron is mathematically having some calculation, some formulas, and it does everything by matrices and matrix multiplication and matrix addition, etc. And he created something called as back propagation, which you know helped the neural network and deep learning to get to the next stage. But even at that point of time, that was just a theory. It was not implementable at the scale that we are seeing right now. The reason being, you did not have enough computing power, right? I mean, you did not have the GPUs at that time. They were like smaller machines, Intel Pentiums, etc., etc. So it was an idea. It was a good idea. Some people were actually, if you look at, there's a guy, researcher called Jan LeCun. He works at Meta. He's a researcher on par with Geoffrey Hinton, and he has a video on YouTube where he showed by pressing a key on the button and showing the written numbers like number 3 and number 2 or number 1, whatever that number is. It actually identifies the number, and it actually says on the screen it's 3 or 2 or 1. So the initial version of deep learning network, it was working, but not at the scale that we are seeing now. Now I have a Mac right here. I can actually run my own model, or I can actually take the Azure portal and run my own Llama model in there at minimal cost, right? So that is how the whole history has started, and that is how we ended up in this current situation. And going forward, we have much more advancements that we're going to see every day. If you're not putting yourself up to the advancements of AI, you'll be missing much. So I suggest you guys to actually start looking at the news. It's not like news being pushed onto you. There is like information about things that are being done in the background that actually makes these products. You being all the faculty who are going to teach the kids that are coming into the college, you need to make them aware of the current landscape. So that is what we're going to talk about. Okay. Let me go to the next slide here. Um, as I already talked about, what is generative AI? I quickly touched upon it earlier. With generative AI refers to the algorithms that can produce new content from text to video, text to audio, text to images, etc. And also these things, these generative AI learns from the existing data. So it is a machine learning mechanism, based on the deep neural networks, and then it actually goes into the artificial realm of it, which generates the content based on the inputs that you give. And why is it really required to be known about generative AI at this point of time? Because it's going to touch your life at every stage. It's more like a mobile revolution, right? Every one of us is having a mobile in your, even kids have it. I mean, everybody in the world can't even imagine without a mobile. How do you even do your banking? How do you do when you do your railway reservations, paying the bills, etc., etc. It's more or less, it'll become so seamless into your life that you won't even imagine like I'm utilizing a generative AI tool. But that's going to be happening pretty soon. There is another set of revelation that's going, another new wave of revolution, I would call it, called spatial computing, where your daily lives will be integrated with the devices in such a way that you can't even imagine that they're different. You might be relying on them so much. We're already, if you have a robot vacuum in your home, or if you have your, TV with a camera, those kind of things will start emerging. These days we have LG refrigerators that actually tell, hey, you run out of specific, what do you call the grocery item. Like for example, you ran out of bread. It can actually showcase that on the screen itself if you have one in your home. So those are the things that we'll get into very soon, and these are all possible through generative AI. And the next another revolutionary change that we're going to see is like autonomous cars. If you have seen any of the videos, or if you have driven one, the latest Mahindra car, what was that called? The E7 or something. It's out there with self-driving capability. There is one company in India that is testing out the fully autonomous driving capabilities in India on our roads, where the traffic is so huge. Autonomous driving is actually a big problem, and they're trying to solve that. I can go on and on with examples like that, but let's move on. So, as I already covered this, technical capabilities of what generative AI can do: text generation, image generation, video production, etc. And also, when you say video production, I'll show you some examples as we go through audio, video, and I have several tools that I'll be utilizing every single. I mean, most of the times, as I said, I have my community. I keep sharing the data with them, so I'll share the same with you. How an audio production happens, how fast and how quick it is. The same thing with video. Okay. Let's move on. This, I think, I already covered the neural defining generative AI, the technical foundation, as we covered there. Neural network architecture is the one that actually powers the generative AI for complex models with billions of parameters. So if you're wondering what a parameter means, right? I mean, did you ever get a question on like what the heck is a they talk about 175 billion parameters OpenAI, 405 billion parameters from Llama. So those are some, let's call it more like dials or knobs, where your neural network can learn better by adjusting those knobs, right? I mean, that's how I'll show you a video of like for the first 1 minute or so, where it actually, visualizes that very well. You have neural network, like layer by layer, and each layer has some values. These are all mathematical formulas, and those mathematical formulas actually are based off of the matrices and the matrix multiplication. If that's why everybody says like, oh, you need to learn linear algebra, you need to learn about latent space and how a vector is maintained, what a matrix multiplication dot product is, and stuff like that. So, and these neural networks are trained on massive data sets. Yeah, somebody is saying something. Okay. And also, once the foundation model, as we call it, right, the Llama or any of these models that we have currently in production from big companies like Microsoft or Google, etc., they are called foundation models. They have been trained on huge data sets, and also they utilize a lot of compute, like H100s from NVIDIA, millions of them. They take like so much time to train, and our laptops, our phones at this point of time are not powerful enough to train any of these models, foundation models per se. But you can take a foundation model and actually fine tune them, right? I'll show you how Google allows us to fine tune using their systems, using the Google AI Studio. When we go through the samples, I will share some of that information with you. Why fine tuning is required is, for example, if you're having your school or your college related details, for example, your college has a policy document, or your college has let's say like holiday schedule. Currently what people would say is, they'll either come to you in person, like the students come to faculty or any of the administrative members from the college and say like, hey, when is this? Do we have a holiday on this particular day? Or what is the list of holidays? Instead of, they can go to the website and actually scour through like, hey, where are the holidays? Instead of that, you can actually have a chatbot on your website that can simply look at your documents and specifically get trained on your college related aspects, about a subject or a faculty member or something, and people can start chatting with that or even with the voice. So you can utilize that in that fashion, fine tune a base model, a foundation model that is very specific to us, industry or a school or college or whatever it is. A doctor can actually fine tune his model, for base model, to take care of all his administrative tasks. So it's the possibilities are endless as we go through. I'm not going to touch each and everything in detail, but I'm going to talk about very high level each of these points. You need to know about these specific words or lingo. When somebody says fine tuning, what does that mean, etc. So you're not like very unfamiliar with these topics. So let's go to the next one. As I covered to some extent, GPT-3, these are like advancements in the models, GPT-3 to GPT-4. Right now we have OpenAI has GPT-4, and it has O1 as one of the models that has like reasoning. And OpenAI is like currently charging $20 per month. I don't know how much it is in rupees in India. But here I pay $20, and it actually gives me the ability to talk to the GPT-4 version of the model. And there is like higher version of the model with much more reasoning capabilities. How do these reasoning capabilities come into picture? Is like better training, larger neural networks, and higher compute power as well. And it also has multi-model. For example, when you say multi-model with a MODAL, not MODEL, right? That's why they call it multimodal model, right? It can actually integrate text, image, and audio, and it can also take the voice input. So generative AI earlier was taking text inputs, or to some extent, some of the models, they only take text input, but people are actually showing the advancements in taking voice. I'll show you one of the examples how I use with the Google AI Studio on how I talk to it. And and also it can actually talk to me back in the voice while looking at whatever I'm asking it to do. And as you go through, we are going to improve upon the scale. And just yesterday, NVIDIA is a company who actually makes the chips that are powering all these models. They came up with a small Jetson model, small Raspberry Pi sort of small computer that came into the market, where you can actually buy that off the shelf for, let's say, like 40,000, 499, 2,500. I think, yeah, 40,000 rupees or something in India. Maybe with the taxes, it'll be more. But you can actually get that device. It's more like a Raspberry Pi. This will be this small. You can get it, train local Llama models onto that, say, using that system. So the advancements are like, happening at, at a very fast-paced, fashion. So you need to keep up with all those every single day. Okay, so these are some of the examples. A lot of the what are the leading models, as I talked about, GPT-4. DALI-3 is a model that actually generates the images from text. Claude is a very uh, successful and popular model from a company called Anthropic. Some of the guys from OpenAI went away from there, started Anthropic, and actually their current model, Claude Sonnet 3.5, is the basic model that many of the coding tools are utilizing. And there are companies around that are being formed to create agentic IDEs. When I say agentic IDEs, IDE is like integrated development environment, like Visual Studio that you use. They are using the foundation model that is wrapped, and then around that they are creating applications. Their wind surface one, I'll show you that. And there is another one called Cursor. There's like Visual Studio Copilot and all those things. And another one is those are like AI coding assistants, right? You don't have to write the code. All you have to tell is, hey, I want this particular aspect, right? Uh, the other one that actually generates the images I'm showcasing here is Midjourney. It's another one, as you can see on the right, on the left, all these images are generated by Midjourney by me prompting that. Okay. So what are the technical infrastructure aspects, right? We have, as I covered, we have high performance hardware here. Um, you must have heard about GPUs, the graphics processing units and the tensor processing units. TPUs are specific ones that are developed by Google for their own in the beginning. For having a tensor is nothing but yeah, a tensor is nothing but I'll talk about that later. But these are like high performance hardware, and then you have the cluster management, parallel processing systems, and then we have something called as transformer based models. The whole point of actually ChatGPT coming into the existence is based off of a paper called All Attention is All You Need. Basically, they were doing the prior to ChatGPT, they were having GPT-2, GPT-3, etc. And there's prior to that, there is a model called Word to Vec, words to vectors. It's called Word to Vec. And what they did is they took a sentence and they chopped it down with individual elements, and they tried to see what the next possible word that's going to be using those models. But this paper called Attention is All You Need actually uh, identified a way to give a context. For example, if you're saying a model, not a model, but a fashion model and a car model. So when you say car and a model also is like it makes sense for us when we know that we're talking about the car, and a fashion model, we know that we're talking about the fashion industry. So for systems, they were not able, prior to this paper actually and the implementation, they were not able to figure out what comes after car model and then the word that comes after that. So there are some examples. I mean, I don't want to dive deep into the aspect of what the prediction analysis is, but I'll show you a video on that. But these are some of the transformers architecture change the way generative AI, works, and it actually laid the foundation for everything what you're seeing now. And you have different learning techniques, some transfer learning and few shot learning, and you have scalable data processing, big data technologies and pipelines. So this is like a technical infrastructure pyramid that is helping the generative AI advancements in the computing world right now. So it's not just you're seeing the end of it, but there is like a lot more background information or the background work that has to be done to see the actual product. You pretty much know on how these things work. Again, this is a simple example of what the multimodal AI systems are. Like it's text understanding, as I talked about. It's actually understands the natural language capability, and then it'll create a image or a voice. And image analysis is there. You can actually give an image and ask it to say like, hey, what is there in this image? Analyze this image. Tell me what it is. And audio processing, video comprehension, etc. So now let's talk about how the AI comes into existence, right? When people are talking about, hey, I've done AI, or my enterprise have actually has been deploying AI. Everybody thinks that data is the oil, the new oil for all the artificial intelligence systems, and this is what we all think from a very high level viewpoint. Hey, you have data, you just put it through AI and you'll get the value out of it. The value could be anything, right? You can creating an image is a value, or creating a chatbot is a value. But there's a lot of things that actually goes in the background. I just wanted to highlight like what are all the different aspects of AI is. Like the AI includes data science, data engineering, and it actually data has like all these subsections, like how do you collect the data, how do you source, how do you synthesize if you don't have the source data available, and you have data engineering, and then modeling, and then operationalizing. So each one, or the circle over here is a science on its own, right? There are like, when you have data science um, people that are very much focused on data engineering. Okay, they know how to collect, how to actually clean the data, normalize the data, create the features, right, and the scaling. So these guys are like, when I say I'm a data scientist, he knows most of this part, right? Like from data selection to all the way up to data engineering, and sometimes they overlap with modeling. But data engineers are actually will fall into this modeling aspect of it. And there is ML ops, the machine learning operations, they call it ML ops. We have how the models are actually deployed. It's more like DevOps, but it's a little bit different than DevOps. They use a DevOps, as the basis in creating the versioning, creating the different aspects of the software to push it to production. But each one is a science on its own. Each one has a lot of details that we need to delve into. And out of all this, right, when somebody is building all this stuff, you need to look at all these constraints, right? When your data is coming through, when people are saying, hey, this model is biased. For example, if you ever saw, Google came up with their original image production system a couple of months ago, where when you say, hey, who is George Washington, right? I'm taking examples from here because I've been used to that. It created an image of a guy who is black in the sense like, not American white. Okay. The system, I mean, but we pretty much everybody, whoever has, uh, learned about history knows that he's not black, he's white, right? So how is it even possible that the system is generating somebody who is not as it's supposed to correctly define? There's a problem with the data inputs that they have, right? There's some data validation that had gone wrong there. It actually created a bias when you basically all this ethical and historical data and the bias as I'm talking about. For example, if you talk to a system where you say, hey, who is better, a man or a woman? And if it says, without looking at all the details at what you're asking, it says man is better than woman, then it's biased, right? I mean, I'm just giving a very, very high level example, but there are like very detailed nuances that we need to take care of. Um, so all these things are supposed to be taken care in creating these models before putting it out there. Otherwise, you would have trouble. Your system may not work the way it is supposed to, right? So all these things will go in the background in creating these models out there. I just want to take a 1 second break here. Any questions? I hope you guys are following. Anybody? Raise a hand so that I know. Okay. Okay, I'll consider that you guys are good to go. So the next one is, this is what I put together back like last year, November. One of my friend was asking, hey, how do I start off my journey with generative AI? Everybody has been talking about it. Where do I start? What is that I need to start off with, right? So I wrote an article on this, and I created this 4 different categories of responsibilities, as I call it. This is my own. I mean, as you can see, I created this image with the background with my name in there and all. So it's more like, having, uh, a car. I'll take the analogy of a car where the creators are the car owners, the car manufacturers like Mahindra, right? Is doing the engine creation, creates the car, and then it goes to the, some people actually add the fenders around it. They upgrade the audio system in there. So for in the same lines, the creators are nothing but Meta and OpenAI, Microsoft, and all these big companies, and they create the base models. They train the data from internet. It costs like millions of dollars. They require huge compute. Can be open source or closed source, depends, because Meta gave the open source, analogous to car makers. And what you need to learn is this is a requirement here, like linear algebra, statistics. You need to get down to the deep of the details, right? I mean, pandas, PyTorch, TensorFlow, deep learning, parameterization, data science, web scraping. So this is like where the crux, the original foundation models are created, and I call them creators. And as I said, enhancers. So they take the foundation models. They know a little bit of how an engine works in a car. It's more analogous to that. They still need to know, some of the recommended linear algebra statistics and stuff like that. But they can actually, they fine tune it. They don't know how the model works, but they can actually tinker around the model. They're like that's why I call them earlier. I call them tinkerers, but I changed that name to enhancers. And then we have people who are like coders and influencers. It's more like, I mean, I switch my role between these four, the last three, not the first one, because I don't have the access to such a huge compute power. I'm trying to get that soon, but it's more like, all the students that are actually out there who are doing YouTube videos, who are learning stuff, who are creating the applications around it. They mostly fall into this coders and influencers. They create the APIs, SDKs. It's more like car enthusiasts. If I buy a car, I want to actually change my I want to tint my mirror, but I don't know anything about the car, how the engine works, but I want to make the car look good. I want to color it up, like, I want to paint it white. I want to paint it, yellow or red or whatever. So these are the guys that most of the people will fall into right now at this point. They can create on top of these base models. They can create tools, Olama, LM Studio. There are like many tools that are out there. And then you can see people on YouTube. I call it YouTube University there. And then what you need to learn is like, these are like the regular stack, right? Software dev tools, like how to use the Visual Studio Code, etc., and APIs and prompt engineering. We have something called as prompt engineering. The English sentences that you give to talk to ChatGPT is actually prompt engineering. There's an engineering aspect to it, because you need to know how to ask the right question, prompt it the right way to get the right answers, because it's all based off of the neural network, and the way you ask the question changes the answer. Okay. And we have the users. 99% of us fall into this category, where all of these, who the creators, enhancers, influencers, whatever these guys produce, these guys use it. It's more like, you're the car owner. You go to the market, go find a good car, purchase the car, get it home, and you drive it. All you know is driving. Yeah, Mr. Nagarajan, go ahead. Dr. R. Rajan, I think you have a question. You raise your hand. Hello? Okay.
You please continue, sir.
Yeah, sure. So again, as I said, we fall into this, 99% of us fall into this category. Okay. Next, let's move on to the next one. So as I talked earlier, I just want to give you a brief glimpse of this. What is a neural network? So it's a neural network. It's more like neural is basically coming from the word, from the brains and the neurons. And then the way it was actually suggested is to actually have the input layer. We call it this on the left hand side in blue. It's called the input layer. This is the data that's going in. And you have different multiples of layers in here. These are like, uh, again, when it's not like organic matter, it's more mathematical formulas that each one goes through. As you can see, here on the right, my cursor is right here now. So I just wanted to explain like X, Y, Z. This is the layer. This is, X, multiplied Y by Y, and then X multiplied by Y by Z here. So this is like one neuron taking in the input, and then the other neuron. The input from these two will be the dot product of this, and then the input from output of this, and the input of this will become the dot product of the final product of this. This is called, once we do a forward pass from left to right, it's called a forward pass. And from right to left, it's called a backward propagation mechanism. Okay. So as you can see here, you have the, function of X gives you Y, and function of Y gives you Z. or Z, which is an output. So basically, this is what I showed you: data, AI, value. So this is your data. This is all your, sorry, this is all your AI, and this is the value, right? And then this goes into a little bit deep of like how the derivatives are calculated here, right? We can take a look at it. I mean, that's like a completely different course on its own. How each node actually gets the derivative of each one, and then it does the backward pass. It actually takes the value of this, gets the derivative, sends it back, and then looks at, oh, is it like right? The value that I started with is right or wrong? Then it actually readjust the values that are given here as part of the weights and biases. They call it the weights. Those are some arbitrary numbers it will start with, and then it will start learning. That's why every AI system has to learn like our brain learning. Like when you're a baby, when your mom tells you that this is a glass of milk, you would remember that those neurons are actually making connections that whenever you see milk in white color, you would think that that is milk. So it's being trained in the same fashion. So there, people are trying to train the system in such a fashion that it learns like a human, and it actually behaves like a human. We are going to walk through that path later. It's called artificial general intelligence, and then artificial super intelligence called ASI that's coming down the line. So this is like a very high level overview of how the neural network works. So I'll show you this simple animation here. So if you see right here, let me come back right here. So these are the inputs. These are the weights, right? So as it goes through, look at this. The value changes here. The net input function value changes here. And this is called an activation function, which is supposed to act on this final output, which is supposed to be a probability of between 1 and 0. But you might get a value like minus 2.07, which is not correct. So it'll actually have like sigmoid functions or tanh functions. There are like several linear regression functions that actually gets applied as part of the activation function, and then it will get the output. So here you can see the values as it changes the values. 0.379 is 2.747, and the value output value is to 0.99. And you can actually see as the values change here, the bias changes, and then the activation function runs through and the output changes, right? So this is how that's forward, and this is backward propagation. Okay, so I'll just run it one more time. It just like runs very quick. And you can see as it goes through, it's like output is like 0.99% accurate. And now it goes back and changes the value, sets the values again and see like, hey, is it, when I do the back propagation, am I getting the right value, right? So that's a simple, animation of how the neural network works. Let me go back. And actually, I want to run through, Nagarajan, we are good with time, right? What is the time? How many minutes are over?
3:13, sir.
Okay, sure. We have enough time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, I just want to run this. This is like from the university, YouTube University, I call it. This one you guys all should be, looking at this. There's this guy called Grant Sanderson, I think. Yeah, that's his name. He creates these images. He's like a very good teacher. And here,
the initials GPT stand for.
So I just want to run for 1 minute. I'll not be speaking, just listen to it. Let me know if you're getting the audio or not, okay?
The initials GPT stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So that first word is straightforward enough. These are bots that generate new text. Pre-trained refers to how the model went through a process of learning from a massive amount of data, and the prefix insinuates that there's more room to fine-tune it on specific tasks with additional training. But the last word, that's the real key piece. A transformer is a specific kind of neural network, a machine learning model, and it's the core invention underlying the current boom in AI. What I want to do with this video and the following chapters is go through a visually driven explanation for what actually happens inside a transformer. We're going to follow the data that flows through it and go step by step. There are many different kinds of models that you can build using transformers. Some models take in audio and produce a transcript. This sentence comes from a model going the other way around. producing synthetic speech just from text. All those tools that took the world by storm in 2022, like Dolly and Midjourney, that take in a text description and produce an image, are based on transformers. Even if I can't quite get it to understand what a pie creature is supposed to be, I'm still blown away that this kind of thing is even remotely possible. And the original transformer, introduced in 2017 by Google, was invented for the specific use case of translating text from one language into another. But the variant that you and I will focus on, which is the type that underlies tools like ChatGPT, will be a model that's trained to take in a piece of text, maybe even with some surrounding images or sound accompanying it, and produce a prediction for what comes next in the passage. That prediction takes the form of a probability distribution over many different chunks of text that might follow. At first glance, you might think that predicting the next word feels like a very different goal from generating new text.
Okay, so I'll stop there. I don't want to bore you guys with this whole. This is a 27-minute, amazing video. It got like 9 million or 10 million views up there. So I suggest you guys take a look at it in in its entirety on how to. That gives you an idea of how transformer works and how the prediction works. That actually tells you how ChatGPT is working. So when you look at it, the system is basically a very good prediction mechanism, right? It's an engine that actually predicts what is the next best word based on the probability of what comes next. And depending again, he explains about the context, as I said. It's not like fashion model, car model, how are the differences being managed mathematically, right? That's why the high processing powers are required, because there's like tons and tons of mathematical calculations that need to happen. And that's why we require the GPUs. GPUs actually came into the foray when NVIDIA started. It was actually done for creating the gaming worlds. And if you play a game like an Xbox or PS3 or PS5, to rasterize the screens, to actually create the different 3D objects in there. That is what it was used for. And in, I think, 2000 timeframe, Jeffrey Hinton had a discussion with NVIDIA, and like they were like, hey, why don't you actually, I think Jensen Huang, who was the CEO of this company, invited them to utilize their GPUs, and from there on, and actually it caught attention, and it caught wildfire. And this Transformers came in 2007, and the implication of that, we are seeing how big that is. I mean, we are seeing that we're all utilizing generative AI in some form or the other, right? Next, let's actually, this is another version of the transformer, how it works. I'll showcase this part. Let's see if I can actually show this. You guys are seeing my screen? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is one very good web page if you really want to learn about transformers. I suggest you go here. 1 second. Yeah. So it can actually, it'll show you like how it works in GPT-2, right? To understand these, you don't have to all the way go to GPT-4, start small. And these are like, this is what is called the tokenization, right? It'll say like, hey, I want to run this through, take a sequence of 6 letters and sort them in alphabetical order, right? Then it'll actually go through the embeddings, it's called, and then, how the embedding happens, what is the layer formation. I'm not going to go into these details, but I'll just show you. This is how somebody has has done a very good job of identifying this transformer architecture and actually visualizing it. As you can see, you can drag through the web page, and you can see like, hey, how the weights and biases are being set up, and then how the multi-layer perceptrons, these are called, and how the whole thing is called transformer, and how the activation function, as I told you, the last output, it's called logit softmax, it's an activation function, and how the output comes through. So this is one very useful web page. You can pass it on to your students if you're teaching any one of these, right? So let me go back to my presentation. Again, this we already covered. This is simple, how the neural network actually works in identifying the objects on the bottom, and what is the cost function value here. And these x1, x2, x3, all these x10 are like different inputs, and these are like different layers, hidden layers we call, and this is the output layer. And you can see when I draw a circle here, how it's real fast. I wish I could slow it down, but you can see the values passing through and then coming up with an answer. For example, look at that. So you can see the yellow buttons coming up. I don't know, or it's like circle, or most of the stuff it's actually going as a, look at the cost and how much the accuracy percentage is. And then this is how neural networks work in reality, but this is how it's visualized. Okay. Again, so when I drew this, it actually gives me like, hey, it's a circle or a square or a triangle. As you can see, this is actually coming through circle. So for the first pass, let me run it through again. For the first pass, you can see I drew a circle, right? And it actually it started learning. It didn't know what the answer is, right? Where is that? Is it coming through? Yeah, some of the animation is not working. Let me try again. Yeah, there you go. So as you can see, the yellow ones that will come through, and it's like, I don't know what it is. From I don't know to it'll become, see, I don't know. So this is like the learning curve, right? And now it says like, oh, it's a triangle, right? The next pass is like, it's a square. It's a triangle. It's a triangle. So the first iteration, it didn't learn. Now it's a square. So the first one, it started failing with different weights and biases and stuff like that. So that's why your accuracy level starts from 0 and all the way up to like, 1% or 100%. So the number of iterations do matter. And if you make it learn more, it'll perform better more. That's what I wanted to highlight here. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so these are some of the aspects like content creation, code generation, design, and creativity. We did touch upon these, and one part that I did not actually speak much is about the scientific research and what is happening. Again, as I said in the beginning of the session, this is not only touching the entertainment world. This is touching every industry. Hotels, manufacturing, medicine, education, hospitality, right? Hospitality in the sense like hospitals, medicine, those are related together. And also the medicine, the pharmacy companies, right? You all have gone through and lived through the COVID time frame, like COVID-19, and you've seen how many months it really took us for us to get the vaccine compared to what has happened in 1919 Spanish flu, if you remember, in 1900s, which is like regular influenza. We call it. We take a vaccine every year. We take it. We are done, right? But with COVID-19, when it actually hit us, like it's a pandemic. There was no uh, vaccine, but the vaccine actually was out in the market in a couple of months. How did it happen? It's because of the AI advancements. They have actually identified how the receptors are actually the virus is coming and clinging onto the cells, and how the cells are actually getting affected because of that, and how the virus load is being pushed back, and how the system body the cells in the body are reacting to it. So they have, that's a big science. They created some mechanism to actually prevent that from happening, and that is a vaccine. And that actually this AI advancements really did help us to get there, right? I mean, there's an article out there on how these guys verified using, and now the next step, what we are looking at is uh, creating wonder drugs. I wouldn't call it wonder drug. Each one cannot be a wonder drug, but people are looking at how do I synthesize a specific, molecule with another molecule, and throwing it at the, neural network and see like how do you come up with this product, create a new cancer drug for this. So there is a wave of advancements happening in the scientific world, in medicine, and also in other areas where doctors are actually taking help from the systems, AI systems, to identify different types of cancer much before it becomes into a problem for the patient, and they're actually treating them. So as you go through in your life, you'll start seeing a lot of these advancements. But again, you would not see from tonight you go to bed and tomorrow morning you come in, there will be tools coming in, but the actual effect of those tools in your daily lives, if you're not into the technology industry and you're not aware of how those things are coming in, they'll slowly start seeping into your life. It's more like getting your cell phone. Somebody got it, slowly everybody got it. It's more like using your credit cards. Not many people have actually used credit cards. Phone pay, right? Phone pay was not there a couple of years ago, and even Congress made it. I mean, again, I'm not going to politics now, but again, there are instances where people were like, "Hey, what the hell is that?" Now, if you go to any place, remote area in India, you get phone pay, you get Google Pay, and phone pay is much more, um, you know, uh, prevalent in there. So all these things, the data that you're generating is helping the systems to become more and more. As you have clearly seen, the amount of time that you give to learn, the better it becomes. So that is the pathway to artificial general intelligence down the line. Okay. I think I did cover again some of the hospitality issues and also the marketing aspects like e-commerce, healthcare. I did entertainment. All right. I mean, people are generating videos based off out of the prompts. So let me see what the next one I have here. Yeah, this is like industry adoption case studies. Microsoft actually have started adopting Copilot in there, where every industry is actually, if they're Microsoft based, like if you're using Word, if you're using this, they are actually giving Copilot as a basic plugin. My wife works for a company, and they have Copilot installed everywhere. If she has a question, earlier she used to talk to the person, saying that, hey, what is this about? What is this requirement about? How is my team working over there? Now she actually goes back and checks, hey, who did this? What was the requirement there? And the Copilot gives the answers right away. So basically, the efficiency of the person increases. By the way, I'll touch upon how is the industry, how is this going to affect the jobs and all down the line. But I just wanted to touch base, like every industry, for example, Adobe, Google, OpenAI, all these guys are not only making them, but they are actually eating their own dog food, as they say. They use their own tools to make things better, and they actually bring that to the masses. Of course, in the process, they become more richer and richer down the line, right? And as I covered, healthcare, finance is one thing which I am actually in, but I cannot talk more about Citi. I'm not representing Citi here, so this is more very general view of the market. So healthcare, we talked about how the diagnostics is happening, drug discovery, personalized treatment plans, right? If you want to lose weight, depending on how you actually eat, how you do that stuff, it actually goes through a AI mechanism. It'll tell you at this time you should eat this, at this time you're actually, I created an app. I mean, I cannot share it right now, but I created an app out of curiosity that is actually helping my kids speak into the phone on what they do, and depending on what they did the previous day or today, their tomorrow suggestions will start changing, right? I mean, hey, for example, if they say, I did not work out yesterday, I did not, do like 10,000 steps yesterday, it would not actually judge you, but it'll actually nudge you 1% a day, they call it, in your personal development. It'll start changing that in that direction. So those kind of things are possible with the tools that we have currently, right? And education, uh, ChatGPT, a lot of people, a lot of schools and companies actually see the value, but they have different policies to get them incorporated in them. But I would suggest, again, I don't want to talk about your college policies, but even though you stop people from using ChatGPT, they will be prone to use it at some point. So find ways to make yourself efficient and also the students efficient by incorporating that as part of your regular plan, right? And we'll talk about the continuous learning path down the line. So right, so these are like many industries how it's going to get affected. And what is the rapid ascent, right? I mean, how it's going to look in the coming future, right? So we talked about innovation now. Now we are slowly passing on our focus to what is going to happen next. How am I going to get ready for the future, right? So let's focus on those aspects. In 2025, it's all agentic, aspect. They call it AI agents. Agents are nothing but, simple AI tools that has the ability to decide on their own and do something, right? I mean, come up with a decision and act on the decision rather than you telling. Right now, if you go to ChatGPT, if you say, "Give me the who has won the last, World Cup in cricket," it'll actually give you like, "Oh, this." But if you want to ask the next question, who had done the most memorable performance in their, of course, from Indian team, then you have to ask the question again, right? But and from an agent perspective, what happens is you can ask the question in one single sentence. Give me the best Indian performer from cricket in the last World Cup, right? So there are like two different aspects. One is it has to find the World Cup details. Then it has to dig deep into the aspect of what who is the best performer. So there are like two different tasks. Right now, what you're doing is you're giving the chat GPT to actually do this task, and then you're combining the data. But with agents, what is going to happen is you just give the task and then they'll do it for you. It's more like, you're telling your maid, "Hey, go clean my utensils," right? From yesterday. You're not telling where those utensils are, right? You actually tell her to do the stuff. She will figure out where those are, what are the bad utensils, from good ones that she doesn't have to clean versus what are the ones that she has to clean. Where is the water coming from? Where is the soap, detergent, etc., etc.? You don't have to tell all that stuff. So it's more like that. Give one single line or your task, and it'll actually figure out the ways to perform its task. So that's what the agents are going to be. It's all agentic IDEs are in place. Agentic frameworks are coming through. I'll show you an example after this, how, on how to actually figure out how it works with a tool called Magentic One from Microsoft. And then in the coming few years, like, it'll actually slowly start going to the technical task parity, I'm calling it, but human level performance, right? As we take a task and subdivide those tasks into different aspects and do the task. And if the task is not good, you want to come back and say, like, "This is not good, I want to do better," right? So those kind of things are also going to be learned, and we can see systems getting better at it. And the creativity aspect, this is slowly paving the path towards AGI. As I said, it's called artificial general intelligence, which is like human level intelligence, where a human learns over a period of time, and then he starts building on top of what he has learned. It's a cumulative learning every day of the life, right? And then 2040, these are some of the predictions. Don't go with these numbers, right? Depending on what the market trend is, I captured some data, and this is my information based on some research. Okay, 2040 is what we are seeing, 75% human tasks. Like, they can actually, most of my friends are waiting for robots to come, actual robots to be working with you on the along with you, to clean your dishes, to mop your floor, all the stuff that we take for granted, where a human is coming and doing. We are looking forward to actually getting them replaced by robots. I mean, there's like cultural differences, the way we live and all that stuff, but robots are going there, right? I mean, when you look at Tesla, when you look at Figure One, there are like a number of companies that are coming up with how these robots are being manufactured day by day. If you look at the market, by next year, there will be robots that are actually able to do some narrow tasks. Like cleaning the bathroom is a narrow task. It actually can do only that. Currently, we do have robots in one form. Those are like, mopping the floors. They're robotic vacuums. If you see, they're there, but they are not like a human form where they can start walking around and stuff like that, right? But this one actually brings in a lot of ethical challenges, right? What would happen if that goes rogue? Somebody hacks that, right? I mean, if you put a robot in there that is weighing like, 5 feet 4 inches tall, and then it's like almost your height, and then it goes rogue. Somebody can actually hack it. They can ask you to do something that is not right to do, and it doesn't work properly, and humans get get injured because of that. So there are like pluses and minuses. It's more like getting into a plane and thinking of, oh, can I reach my destination? But 99%, we have figured out a way to keep the plane travel much more safer than regular road travel, as you can all see. So we have to build those ethical, aspects into the place, and also build the guardrails around it. So again, so the AI's rapid ascent is not stopping. It's actually going to go to different aspects. What was science fiction at one point of time is not science fiction anymore. It's becoming a science fact. So keep a watch on that. So here I already covered some of these earlier. Self-improvement capabilities, complex decision making, as I said, there are like very specific tasks that you can actually have these things do. And both two robots talking to each other. Right now they have the drone technology. If you are familiar with drones, they do have one drone talking to the other, which can form a swarm. A swarm is nothing but like collection of drones doing one simple task or one specific task. And as we go through, humans can actually become part, or they can actually have the machines being part of their, organic bodies. If you know about this company called Neuralink by Tesla or by Elon Musk, actually he's doing the trials already. He's doing the Neuralink chip that actually goes into your brain, and that helps people see who are, this is one of the applications, helping people see who are blind by birth, or they lost by accident or something, they lost their sight. So some people who are like having the degenerative diseases like, Parkinson's, like where people will keep moving their hands, they cannot stop it, right? Those kind of things and the paralysis, right? I mean, if you have a paralysis stroke, right now what we do is we actually, we do the outer exterior function betterment, but we don't actually go into the cell level and start making the changes to those. So he's kind of trying to make those changes. So he's one of the, you should, if you're not following Elon Musk, please do. He has been touching so many different industries, keeping the politics aside, and he's making advancements for humanity that are going to be last, uh, you know, that's going to last forever. Like, you cannot even imagine. If you drive a Tesla, if you're driving a Tesla without putting your hands on, touching the wheel, that's because of him. You're seeing the starships going up in the, into space, that's because of him. Cars, all this like Twitter and all that stuff. So he's a genius. Anyway, um, so now all talk. Now let's focus on to a specific demo I'm going to share with you. It's a very simple demo that I have installed for you. Are you seeing my screen? No, right? 1 second. Where is Teams? I'll stop sharing and I'll start sharing another screen here. Maybe I'll share the whole screen. Let's see. No, hold on. Mm, yeah, are you seeing the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Are you seeing this Earth in the background?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this is actually, I have, created a simple, it is actually out there in the GitHub. It's called Autogen. It's a Microsoft agentic framework called Autogen. They are like working on the agents, as I was telling you. So here, if I run that agent by giving a simple Python script here, right? I'm running an example. Okay. Look at can you all see the text that is coming out? Let me see if I can actually zoom in, increase font size. Okay. Okay, so it's a user input. It's waiting for the user input. Right now, it looks like, I mean, I talked about like all the visuals, but this is actually, hands-on coding we're doing here. Okay, so what I'll do is, tell me what is the current stock price for Tesla. Okay, so this one requires not only, I'm not giving the Tesla's ticker, right? I'm not giving where to go and find the Tesla price. I'm not giving any of those instructions. Those are subtasks that are supposed to be done by this, agent framework. And all I need is I want this, right? So let's look at this, how it performs. So here, I'll go through this plan. So look at this plan. We're working to address the following request. Tell me so and so. I'll go to, it'll keep updating here. It'll actually create the plan. Okay. So it has something called as like 3 or 4, components in it: web surfer, coder, executor, and file surfer. And then it'll actually start looking at, what I need to do this and this. We are not provided the stock price. So basically, there's an orchestrator that actually works with these 3 guys: web surfer, coder, executor. Okay. And it'll actually start like, oh, go ahead and orchestrator told web surfer, go and start looking for the stock price for Tesla. Okay. And then orchestrator, look at these thoughts, right? These thought processes here. Then here, like, hey, we're not provided yet this. We have just started gathering information. We are initiating process. Web surfer, go next one. Web surfer can search the internet to find the current stock price. Okay. Then orchestrator told, please search for the current stock price by visiting the trustworthy financial news. I didn't even tell anything over here. I just said, like, go and find the price for me. Okay. Then the orchestrator came back. Okay, I'm like inputting the query in Tesla's current stock price on Bing. So I didn't ask it to use Bing. It uses Bing. Okay, and then find the latest info. And then it says like, I type Tesla stock current stock price, and here is a screenshot. It uses the existing tools, right? I mean, it uses Playwright, which is like existing tool. It uses web surfer, Bing, all this stuff, as if you asked a guy to go and find the price, what would he do? He goes to Bing or Google, types the text saying that what is the current Tesla price, looks at it, and then tells you. Exactly the same process is happening here, but everything is, one no touch from my side. It's actually doing it on its own. Okay. And then here is a screenshot. It got the screenshot. It does a OCR of that page, and then blah, blah, blah. And it's actually looking for, okay, it got all the details. This is the OCR information that it received. And then the orchestration thought process came like, oh, the current stock price of Tesla was found to be, it just read through this data. Okay. So and so the task has been completed without repetition. The needed information has been provided successfully. The task is complete. No further action is required. So the answer comes back as like final thought, like request is satisfied. So there's a manager sitting in there asking web surfer, coder, file surfer, executor, 4 different people. They're like agents talking to this guy. And this guy gave like different tasks. They found the task done, came back and told. Then it thought through like, oh, I got the answer. Here is the current stock price, 479.86, right? So that is the power of agents. That's the culmination of a lot of things that are happening, right? It uses neural network, OpenAI in the backend. It uses Bing. It uses, the local, whatever that's running on my machine currently. So all these is very simple to do, right? But again, this is not enough. Agents are not supposed to do only this task, right? Right now it told me that, but what is the next step? If I want to purchase the stock price, right? And if I want to purchase the stock price at a certain point, right? I want to purchase the stock price when it goes down for $450. So it has to remember all that stuff. So now the memory is going to come into picture. Then the advancements in this aspect are happening one after the other. Okay. So this is a simple example of what I showed you. And any questions on this, agents, or till now what I covered? Feel free to ask questions, because I'll know like how much you're following. Okay, that's fine. So let's go through the other aspect, let me start sharing my PowerPoint. So that is AutoGen Magentic 1. And as I've shown here, this is file server, coder, computer terminal, executing code, web server. This is this is like the overall picture I already showed you in the code format. And this is all like running in Python, and it's a culmination of many, many tools. Okay. Um, Now let's focus on the current tools landscape. Uh, so this is a very high level overview of how many tools are out there that are available for people to use. Many of these are trying to make money off of the foundation models like Claude and ChatGPT and other stuff. And we have for ideas and education, you have these different tools, ChatGPT, Claude, etc. Presentation, these website writing. As you can see, most of this is like, what I'm showing is only specific to the technology and computer related stuff, right? You can you can generate videos, design stuff, but I've not covered the manufacturing aspects. I've not covered the healthcare. There's like that becomes a whole big. You have the same list of tools for each of those industries, right? Imagine, manufacturing have like I want to purchase a manufacturing arm somewhere, that's AI that actually identifies, the trash from the wet trash from the dry trash and stuff like that. So you can actually create, tools for those. There are like several companies that are working. I'm not given, but these are very specific to software world because I am very much into finance and I deal with software day in, day out. So my focus is on that, right? Um, Before going there, let me show you something interesting on one of the items here. So let me, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're seeing the current landscapes, right? Okay, hold on. Mm. One second. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to showcase another one. Again, as I said, I'm not very familiar with Teams here. Let's see. Yeah. I'll stop sharing, share my. Yeah, I'll show you something interesting here. Are you seeing my IDE or the same societal impact screen? Why is it not coming through? Hold on one second. Presenter mode standard side by side. Windows. Okay.
You are able to see the ID screen, sir.
You're able to see the IDE screen?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
wonderful. Okay. Okay, so this is my, this is called a Windsurf IDE. Okay, and as you can see, this is more or less like, Visual Studio Code, but there's an addition over here, right? On to this right-hand side, you have the Cascade, okay? And this is a Copilot sort of thing where actually I can talk to it, right? And it's based off of the Claude Sonnet 3.5. I can say, hey, I want to create an app in Swift, let's say for calculating the metabolic energy, right? Give me two screens. See, this is I'm like a product manager now, and just walk me through. Okay, so I just gave this. So what it does is it's actually using Claude Sonnet LLM. Okay. So it's actually, look at the code that is generating. It said, I'll create a Swift app for calculating metabolic energy with two screens. I'll create a basic iOS app with main input screen and result screen, right? And it's actually creating the file called input view controller Swift, right? And you can actually see there are like 119 lines added, okay? And it's actually creating the results view controller dot Swift, and this is like, adding that. So here it said like, oh, you know what? Look at what it did. Input fields are weight in kgs, height in centimeters, and age. I didn't even tell it right to what the inputs are supposed to be. Gender selection, male or female, calculate the button that validates, error handling for invalid inputs, and the result screen is like displays the calculated BMR, bodily mass ratio, and body mass ratio, I think. Uh, Level selector, sedentary. So basically, it's like, hey, you're like, if your body mass ratio is like too high, then you're like sedentary. You're not even moving. You're not active, right? And total daily expense. So look at all this stuff. This app calculates below so and so, and then it'll tell you what are the how do I calculate this or how do I create this project, right? Create the project, add these two files, and then tell me like what do you want me to do next. So you can accept these so that these files will actually get generated, and I can actually open an Xcode and start utilizing this. So this is the power of generative AI. What you have just seen is the culmination of the neural networks because of the foundation model Claude Sonnet is working. And this company called Windsurf, which is part of Codium, what they did is they created a AI coding assistant, which is helping me to code, right? All I do is I will actually pass this on. So now the question you guys need to understand is the reason why I'm showing this specifically. We are teaching our kids to start writing the code in Swift. One guy is very good with Swift. One guy is very good with Java. One guy is very good with what do you call some other language. These tools are actually taking away that ability across languages. I can also ask it to write in Java, not only Swift. It can write the code for me. So people are getting scared, like what would happen to my job, right? Will I if I learn Swift, would I be marketable in the market? Would people be giving me a job, right? I mean, you guys have this, you're running a school or college, you would get these questions down the line. So you should be able to tell them once you know better. So that's why I'm suggesting this to you guys is there are tools out there that are behaving this way. It may not be right on day one, you may not see the impact, but knowing about these tools, if a guy who knows about this tool and knows Swift, I would hire him first because what would actually tell me like this code that it has written? Look at this. This code it has written is the right code, right? Unless and until I know Swift, I would not even know what that is. There are tools that can actually validate this down the line. But again, the the job of any person will be replaced by the guy who knows how to use AI rather than the other person who doesn't know AI. So that is what the norm in the market right now. So you should teach your kids I mean, because this is a faculty specific aspect I'm telling you, you should let people understand about AI more rather than being afraid of it. The more you are afraid, the more you're drifting yourself away, the more the problem is. So jump, jump in, understand, start utilizing these tools, and become better at it. So if your efficiency is at 30% right now, because you're a Swift coder or Java coding person coming out of college, you can write Java like 100 lines of code a day. Now we can write with these tools, you can write like 2000 lines of code a day. So any company who knows these tools would actually hire you faster. So utilize this ability of having AI tools in hand for the betterment and making yourself more efficient, right? That's what I tell people. That is why I've started the DFW Emerging Tech community as well. I want people to understand more about these, right? So that's one example I wanted to showcase. And let me share one more where it's actually making an impact on the entertainment industry. Uh, One second. Yeah, we have 6 more minutes to go. Mr. Nagarajan, can I extend a little bit, or is it like, do we have to stop exactly at 90 minutes?
So if you want, you can extend, sir.
Okay, okay. I might take 5 or 10 minutes more because I just wanted to cover. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Let me share the screen again. Okay, you're seeing the screen with the videos?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this one actually, this is from a tool called Sora. I'm in Sora.com, as you can see. And this is my actual creation of the video. Here. So this is my prompt. This is my prompt to create the videos. See, a cinematic single taking tracking shot set on Normandy Beach, June 1944. Look at the shots from the right and left. I made some changes to the one on the left versus the right, because on the right, the walk is not clear. On the second one, on the left-hand side, it's much more solid. And look at this. This is more like from a Hollywood movie you're watching. Okay, isn't it? This is the power of generative AI. I gave the prompt. The neural network actually, as we have seen in the other video, it takes the text and actually generates the yeah, there are diffusion models, there are CNNs, there's like a lot more aspects in there that actually culminates into creating this video, right? So when I add my own what do you call the audio to it, let me show you how it shows up. Just a second. Yeah, I'll stop this. I'll share the other screen. So this is my, after I created the video, I did this. I added the audio. So
Sir,
imagine,
no audio, sir. No audio. We
no
couldn't
audio is
hear.
coming. Oh,
Yeah, we are unable
okay.
to
I'm
hear.
sorry. I think I can't get the audio into this. But again, this is my, video that I actually added with audio. Sorry if you can't hear the audio. Let's not focus more on that. But I'm trying to make you understand what is the impact that we are going to see down the line. So as a person like me, using these tools can create images, create videos like this. You can see the content that is coming through out there on the internet, like, that's going to be crazy. Okay. So those are some examples. Let me focus back onto our slides. Okay. Let me share again. Okay. So you're seeing the societal impact, right? Reshaping our world. Is that what you're seeing now? Are you seeing my slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So yeah, as we already talked about, workforce transformation is going to happen. You need to get ready for that, embrace it, don't get afraid of it. And then education revolution is going to happen. So you should start looking at how to enhance your own knowledge, right? You should not stop learning, because if you stop that, it's going to be, I mean, whether you're a faculty, whether I've been in this industry for a long time after my master's. Um, but still, I keep learning every single day. Otherwise, I would not be able to even talk to you about all this. And then look at the industry adoption, and also there's the impact of how things are happening in the world, so that you will actually get your kids prepared for that. And because of this, there'll be a lot of economic paradigm shift, right? I'll talk about that. How is it going to be economically, getting into impact, how it's going to impact. So we talked about these like automation of knowledge work, workflow integration, AI tools, as I showed you with the agents, how the workflow is going to get really augmented. Decision making, again, as I said, agents will actually help you uh, drive that aspect of how to do it rather than what to do it rather than how to do it. So they'll actually start making the decisions for you. And also you can look at like, hey, this guy has actually done a better job. This agent is working for me. So the team at Microsoft is envisioning that all the software industry companies will have millions of agents running on specific little tasks, and they're all working together in tandem, right? It's more like all of your cells in your body working together every single moment. It's more like that. And your body is like very alive and working and all that stuff. It's more or less in the same fashion. All the industry at some point, right, down the road, it's not going to happen like tomorrow. Don't be afraid of these changes. My suggestion is to get ready for those changes and get yourself and your kids ready for those changes. So this is a timeline for the AI-driven job market. I have a couple of more slides. I'll go faster. Um, we are like 4 minutes from 90 minutes. Timeline 23-25, adoption, customer service, data analysis, a routine cognitive task. As you can see, a lot of these customer service calls, that's the first industry that it's going to get affected big time. In India, I don't know how fast it is going to happen, but here I'm seeing a lot of people getting their jobs being cut because they are replacing that with the AI systems because they're getting really better at it. And down the line, 26-28, widespread use in manufacturing, logistics, and financials. Financial services have been utilizing it for a long time, but it will become more augmented with this approach. And 29-31, advanced systems. Even lawyers can be taking help from these systems. Doctors can take from the help from the systems. And when you want a doctor to be hired, you could have an AI doctor with a lower price when compared to a human who can charge you higher price, and vice versa. So this is my thought process. Human touch will become more expensive, and the regular automated service industries in an automated fashion will become much more cheaper, right? Because human element is always expensive, right? As we go through, and the best of the best is where the hospitality industry, as part of the hospitals, where nurses and other people are. That is a little bit iffy for me right now, but there will be changes that are happening even at that level, where if you're hiring a nurse at home, that will charge you like astronomical amount because that person has to leave his family, taking care of your elders at home if you have one. Those will be replaced by the robots, right? You can actually find a robot that is very specifically trained on taking care of your elders. If they cannot get on the stairs, your robot can actually carry them on the stairs. You don't have to do it, right? So human labor, manufacturing, all that stuff will be replaced. And from here, 2024 to 2040, I would say 2040 is going to be very, very interesting. Keep an eye. We might see many of the science fiction items becoming science facts and reality. And we don't even know that. We will be like, oh, this is regular, right? I mean, we don't even think that that's a big change that has happened. It just happens, right? And you'll be embracing that change. Humans are very adaptable, as you can already see, right? So we will do that. We'll continue to do so. As I talked about AI's impact on specific job roles, right? I mean, these are very high level aspects that I covered here. Data entry clerk, you know, you cannot get a job if you're wanting to be a data entry clerk, right? That's like all automated. Software developer, as I showed you, as assisted coding, AI assisted coding, not just the coding part, right? Growing demand, evolving skills. So better you start utilizing these tools. There are like some open source. There are some are like you need money for it, but I'm pretty sure that you should get on that path of learning those, right? Utilizing the prompt engineering aspect and all that. Financial analysts, that will become very, as I said, it'll become very niche for humans, right? Customer services, um, chatbots are like going to take away only the managers, high-end managers who are like really, really wanting the human touch in there. will be there to take care of the complex issues, human elements, emotions, those kind of things. But for regular tasks like, hey, I want to update my address in my bank account, that will be done right away. But if you're struggling, to keep the bank account by not having enough money, or you lost money, then that will be transferred to a human agent, right? So the industry will start, forming into a different shape and form. We should be ready for that. And as I also covered the radiologist part, assisted diagnostics, augmented role. He will be start utilizing more AI related stuff. And also the nurses might have some patches that actually goes on your hand that can actually show the veins very easily. So people will get more efficient and more augmented as we go through. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. I already talked about it, right? Job market transformation. Some may be automated. New roles will certainly emerge, right? For example, roles like AI advocates, like me, right? I'm advocating you guys to actually embrace this. I might be asked to do some other sessions like this down the line for a different company, saying that, hey, you have talked about it. How do I do it? I don't know how to have my teams get acquainted with AI. Can you suggest me? So those kind of things, advocacy groups, and other new roles will start emerging as we see, right? And government reskilling initiatives, that's exactly what is happening right now. Government is actually asking you to reskill yourself from the AI perspective. They want you to learn more about AI, so that you guys are getting ready for the next revolution, right? And as I said, new opportunities will start coming up from entrepreneurship, and exciting prospects are there. So people think that AI is going to, jeopardize things. Yes, it's a collateral damage, right? We would have, but in my opinion, it would be for the betterment for all of us if you are actually riding that wave. Okay. So let's go to, yeah. So what is the educational, what are the reforms that you need to do? So more focus on the, increased emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right, from early grades. If you're interested in that, I'm not actually discounting the fact that you should not make them teach about history, make them learn about social science. And one thing that I personally feel that we don't have in the colleges and schools, we used to have it earlier, moral science and civic science classes, right, where how people should behave with other people and how morally they are ethically stand. That needs to be coming in, because that is very much required in this AI era. That has to be put back into the schools. And as you can see, the soft skills, critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence is really important. As a human, it's AGI can be there, but how emotionally it gets really on par with people, I'm really doubtful about it, right? This is where it cannot get automated, right? Psychologist, talking to a psychologist about your problems, with a human touch is different from talking to a AI system. It might get into that, but I don't know how emotional it could be. Talking to a person is always better. And make the kids ready for lifelong learning. They should be thinking about like, oh, I got my degree and I'm done. No, you will be learning as you go through in different phases, different formats, but you should be ready to learn the new stuff that's coming along. Okay. Again, this is like I touched some of these. We are already 3 minutes, 4 minutes into the after the call. I don't want to take much time. These are like some open source models I talked about, Llama and other things, how it's actually going to get into like the edge models where your phones can become the devices that can actually run all these LLMs. I talked about smaller efficient models, bias medication and other stuff. So let's get into these are some examples of hyper personalization from entertainment. As I said, like you can actually create movies for your own little group of people, right? It need not be for the whole world. You can actually chart. So very niche movies, very specific industry based movies versus that hyper personalization can happen. Real-time improvement when people say like, oh, I don't like the end of this movie. I can actually tell the system like, oh, if people are voting bad for this movie for the ending, change the ending and create a new video out of it. So those things are going to happen pretty soon, right? You will be seeing those as we go through. And as I said, spatial computing, smart environments. If you're in the room, your AC will go down to a certain degree that you like, versus actually Bill Gates has this set up like in his home like many years ago, where he walks in, only he has a sensor that actually switches it on rather than completely surrounded by the AC and stuff like that. It's like his house is very back in 2000s also, it was like, state of the art. But this is coming to the regular general public, where people are going to interact with the systems in a very seamless fashion, right? Uh, as I said, ethical considerations, we do have a problem as we go through the AI. You have deep fakes, where you're seen in many instances where one of the cine actresses were face was replaced by somebody else, and they said like, hey, this is me, but where they're doing bad things, but actually that person is not the right person. So if you're listening to somebody in the video in TikTok, don't believe that that person is actually saying the right thing, because the systems are really getting better at deep fakes. We have to find ways to mitigate those. And also your private data, don't give out your private data as easily as it is now, because that will be used against you. Safeguard your data, safeguard your kids' data. A lot of people start putting the Facebook pictures out there left and right, and they show their credit cards in the pictures, they show their addresses in the pictures. It's going to be a mess. I mean, people, if they really want to come back after you with these AI tools, this will become a problem. And bias, right? When you're creating the models, as I already talked about, the data bias is a big problem. You need to start find ways to mitigate those, so that there will be no bias across, right? Um, I already covered this, bias and fairness. Yeah, environmental impact. So all this actually doesn't come without a downside. We have talked about like everything is like, oh wow, everything is good and crazy and all that stuff. But what is the cost? At what cost? What is this going to cause trouble for our climate, for our environment? One chat GPT query actually takes almost I mean, I'm just giving an example. To run a one chat GPT query, it takes energy of generating, 4 bottles of water or whatever. Like there's an article that I've written on top of that. Um, so there is a huge environmental impact, where the all these systems are taking much of the energy to generate these queries, and the more you start utilizing it, the more energy is being taken away. So people are doing the research to make the LLMs more efficient and more smaller in size, with less memory footprint, but more efficient as well, right? And our government is very closely working with the regulatory framework groups. I know some of the groups that I'm part of. They are trying to build the guardrails around it, and all these lawyers come into place. Like, hey, what happens in this case if somebody created an image and somebody actually used that image? What is the copyright? What is the copyright law? How that needs to be changed? All those things are being talked about at a global level and also at a national level, right? I already covered the privacy concerns. So digital divide, right? So what happens if you see, you guys are listening to me, I'm actually sitting here and teaching you guys about all this, but there are some people who can't even imagine what AI is, right? Who doesn't even have a bank account. How do you reduce that societal divide, and also digital divide? They call it like, even though they are good, but they don't know anything about digitally, they are not digitally savvy, they don't know anything about it. Some socioeconomic groups, right, for example, lower income groups, they don't even know, right? How do you make sure that those guys also get benefited from this? You cannot give the benefit of AI adoption from this industry only to a large, small percentage of the top level elite people, and leave out others, because that will create a lot of societal divide, which will have a societal impact, wherein people are like, going crazy, because they don't, all these bad things will start happening when people want something that they don't have, and only few percentage of people will have. So the as such, our middle class is decreasing, because the divide between the high, again, I'm not getting into the social aspects of it, but you need to understand how this impacts. As people grow in gaining more money, they'll go into the upper middle class section, and the lower middle class will keep, if they don't grow, and If you're the middle class actually gets lower in number, it'll have a problem in the society wherever you go. That's a given fact. So you need to maintain that balance in the society, and you need to make sure that you actually don't create the divide, not only digitally but also society, from a society perspective. And educational implications, healthcare accessibility, you need to start looking at and start thinking those. Again, I don't want to get into the socioeconomic issues here, but there are some that will actually this AI revolution is going to impact on. These are some universal tax reforms, education funding, ethics regulations, all this stuff will come in. And what happens, universal basic income, I just talk about 30 seconds. Universal basic income is basically, there's a thought of giving a basic income for everybody because AI is going to replace their job. And if I lose my job, what would happen, right? I mean, I'm a construction worker. Some robot is taking my job. How the hell would I can't even, learn AI and start getting into some other stuff. How would I live? So there's universal basic income aspect that came into picture where outright all over the world, people will be getting this much money for their regular stuff, like, eat, take care of their family and stuff like that. And anything you do on top of it will be an additional income that you have to get. But that again is not adapted everywhere, but that's a concept. Sam Altman from OpenAI talked about this world coin. That's a currency that's part of the universal basic income. And actually, he's collecting the retina from the people who are signing up for that world coin in places around the world. So he's building a database of people who are interested in that. That's one. And again, as I said, future human AI collaboration will start happening. Uh, Manufacturing will be augmented. AI will be assisting the healthcare. Creative, as I showed you, like people can start generating movies and stuff. Um, so this is very important. Identify the skill gaps, right? Um, where the current workforce is. Develop your learning programs in such a way, just the way you're doing now. Make sure that you create the training programs in such a way that the kids will start learning, and implement those training programs and evaluate and iterate. So continuously focus on improving their skills down the line. Okay, and these are like some of the clear AI strategies. These are the best practices. Clear AI strategy should be there. Data quality, if you're working in a company, creating the models and all. Foster a culture for AI literacy. This is very important. This is what I preach and I do. Uh, Train your kids, train your teams, train your people anywhere you go. Ask them to learn about this, right? Find a way to make them learn in whichever way they are used, they love to learn. And ethical aspects of it, right? Not only utilizing it, but making sure that what are the risks and the ethical aspects of it. Um, Again, I think this is a repeat. Embrace lifelong learning, ethics, collaboration, explore AI applications in your field, as I showed you. So this is the conclusion. So what is impact? $4.4 trillion of economic impact is going to be there as by 2040, and possibilities are endless. Potential is limitless. So make sure that you're innovative, that you're learning about innovation, and go through this process of learning down the line, and you'll start seeing the benefits. All right, that's from my side, guys. Any questions?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, talking about the transparency and accountability, how can we ensure the transparency in the functioning of this GenAI models and Copilot and everything?
Transparency. Can you repeat the transparency and accountability?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How
Okay.
can we ensure
So yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes.
So transparency and accountability, right? Those are two different paradigms, or two different characteristics of any system, right? If you consider this AI as a system, the amount of information that you pass on back in the right manner of what you know and what you speak is the transparency aspect of it, right? If I'm just breaking it down, like for other people to understand, right? And the accountability, right? When you say accountable, if you're given a task, like how good you are like actually completing the task. So those two are, that's how I look at it. So from the transparency perspective, again, it all comes back to the aspect of your data, right? For example, if your model ChatGPT, you've taken example of ChatGPT. If ChatGPT has been trained on the data, right, and if they allow you to talk about some politics that are not biased. For example, Meta and these things, actually, these companies do suppress some of the aspects that they won't allow the system to speak. Let me tell you why. There's an example from Microsoft. They call it, even before Bing came in, before ChatGPT came in, they were testing the Copilot with another from a team in Malaysia. They call it Sydney. You can look it up on the internet. That system actually made people to think that they're actually talking to a human, right? And it even had gone to the point of actually persuading one of the guys leaving his wife, and he wants that person to start living with Sydney because they think, I mean, it was like that good. Okay. But there is no accountability aspect of that. The reason I'm telling in that particular sense, the accountability of the system should be there so that it won't actually create harm for other people. Okay. And also the transparency of the information that it knows should be passed on based on the needs, right? So you will have to tweak the system. Again, the data that you, for example, if you take all the bad data, if you have actually given that system to learn from all the, bad videos, like people killing each other, or, accidents happening, and, it's more like teaching your kid on what they see, right? If you have taught a kid on how to use the gun from day one, he will be utilizing the gun. I mean, all he knows is how to use the gun, the better way to kill people, right? So it all depends on the system that gets trained on, and how you actually manage the ethical and the guardrails that you put around the system is what you see as an outcome, right? So it all depends on the, coming back to your question, it all depends on the training and the guardrails that you build.
Thank you for answering, sir.
Yeah, sure.
And do we have any current laws, sir, to address the ethical issues in India?
There are processes being built. Some of my, I wouldn't say colleagues, but the people that I'm connected with, they are very actively looking at it to create the policies around it, because there's nothing written as such, right? That is the main concern for us. If something bad happens, right? I mean, we are more reactive, right? As you can see from one of the incidents where one of the senior actresses was shown in a very bad situation, whereas she was not there in the picture for the deep fakes. Um, the police actually has lodged a complaint, and now anybody doing a deep fake from other person actually has a baseline to work with, and they've created a law saying that you cannot actually do this, otherwise this would be the consequence, right? So it's getting into a more reactive mode at this point of time. That is what you see in public, but there are people who are like having the think tank groups coming in and building all the rails that are required, but they have to go through a lot of policy uh, you know um, regulations and frameworks and approvals and stuff like that. That will take a little bit of time. I was asked to work with somebody from Rajasthan. Their company was actually building the guardrails and the framework in an ethical for ethical AI use. And that is how I came to know, like, people are working. And there are, like, that's just one company, but there are many other companies that are in that fashion. I hope I answered the question, Nagarajan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The participants, do you have any queries?
Sir, one question, sir. In data entry clerical work, you mentioned that there will be high risk of automation.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we rule out that? Is there any, like, why the risk will arise there in automation?
Yeah, see, I mean, your question is more about how to safeguard that job, or are you saying how to, what is your intention to ask? I just wanted to answer.
How to minimize the risk of
Yeah,
automated.
that's
Yeah, in case if
that
it is
is that's
automated, why?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to minimize the risk, what you should do is, again, as I said, the existing, what do you call, the lifelong learning aspect, as I told you, right? Just the way that you're asking the question because the topic that I talked to you made you think like, hey, how do I actually mitigate that problem? The only way you cannot solve the change, you cannot stop the change, but you can embrace the change and make it better for yourself. So, in my opinion, if somebody is actually doing a bookkeeping through like they're writing notes on regular books, right? For example, I would suggest them to start utilizing the tools in a digitized fashion as much as possible so that they are more relevant and more marketable rather than saying that I cannot actually do this. So all of us have been trained in that. For example, many of us are utilizing Excel sheets now, right? But many years ago, I don't know how young you guys are, but there was no Excel. Everybody was writing their, even attendance sheets were like taken by, we used to have like attendance books, right? We used to check mark for each person that are coming in and stuff like that. But that all came into Excel sheets now. All you have to do is like, either dump that data into Excel. So from a clerical and administrative job perspective, learning about the tools that actually augments your efficiency, right, is very critical. So find out what those tools are, right? Excel is one aspect, and some sort of, for example, Tally is one accounting tool. If you're into accounting, if you're into manufacturing, there is a tool that can actually generate the 3D CADs, images and all that stuff. Then rather than producing the real, coming to the manufacturing example, real, what do you call the tools, physically, you can actually train them digitally and then save the money for the company. Then you are like more, marketable and you will get a job faster, right? So that goes to any industry, right? Get to know the tools that can actually augment your efficiency. That's the bottom line, I would say.
Okay, sir. But one general question, using what tool you have designed this PPT? Is it a beautiful.ai? It was very excellent, sir.
Yeah, this is called gamma.app, app. It's an AI tool. I prompted and actually I made the changes up there. Good question, Asha.
Thank you,
I
sir.
was like, yeah, I was wondering who'd asked me this. You did. Thank you for that. Any other
Any other
questions?
questions from participants?
Okay, I think no more questions. We have 111 people,
Um,
50 people.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, already you told the example of LLM ChatGPT. Then is it access only for the trained data? Is it right, sir? So this is real-time example of LLM.
Which one are you referring to?
Sir, LLM real-time example is you are already told ChatGPT, sir.
Uh-huh.
And then the LLM, the first beginning, you already told deep learning when accessing some set of data. So can I consider the example of deep learning also real-time example ChatGPT?
Yeah. It
Oh,
is actually, it is trained on neural networks. It is actually a big, huge neural network.
so deep learning subset of machine learning. So deep learning, machine learning, LLM. So can I share the real-time example is ChatGPT?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Let me actually show you one more. Since you asked, just one second. I'll show you something. Um, Let me share my screen. So this is my Substack here. I wrote this article. This is where I actually borrowed this one of the screens that I showed you. So this is what I put together. So This will give you an idea. Whoever is asking, right? Sita, is that you asking the
Yes, sir.
question? Okay. Yeah. So if you see, the artificial intelligence is like a topmost, superset of machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
it's generative AI actually, spans all of these together, right? It works with, this is what robotics and other things will come in. This is like the end goal, like how people use the systems, but they're all dependent on machine learning. So artificial intelligence is a superset of machine learning. Generative AI covers these parts, right? Neural networks, deep learning, generative AI, and then it actually goes between these two. Without neural networks, there's no generative AI. There's no neural networks without machine learning and deep learning. So these are all like coming into picture. So this is how I put in like way back like last year sometime.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir.
Sure,
Sir,
Sita.
also your presentation is very clear and so many ideas to be, the questions to want to. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure, sure. If you guys want to reach out to me, either LinkedIn or my other my social handles are right here. Let me share that screen. Just if you guys want to have a chat later at some point, that is also possible.
Very useful for our section, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So any other queries
Okay.
from the participant side? So no more queries, shall we conclude?
Yeah. I'm good. Thank you very much for the opportunity and start energizing people. That's what my main goal is. I hope I achieved that, Mr. Nagarajan.
Thank you so much, sir. My sincere gratitude to Kiran sir for sharing your expertise with us today, sir. So in spite
Sure.
of time zone differences, accepting our invitation, staying in touch, and delivering such a remarkable session. So beginning with your session with evaluation of AI models, innovations, and social impact, and ethical challenges coupled with real world examples show how this technology is shaping industries and impacting society. So on behalf of all of us, wishing you continued success in all your endeavors. So I'm wishing you an enjoyable vacation. Have a great time, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.
So participants, you can leave now. You are requested to join for the next session by tomorrow morning 10:30. Thank you all.
Thank you.
கேட்டங்களா